Om Ajnanatinandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaya Gunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सङ्गललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we are in chapter 2 and we are in verse number 29. So till now, we have seen that Arjuna gave 5 reasons not to fight, and we are discussing what Krishna told the answer about the first one, that's compassion for friends and relatives. And this is from answer is from verse number 11 to 30. So we are just ending this at we are at verse number 29. So let's start for today's verse. आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्य आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वापि एनं वेदं चैव कश्चित्. Asharyavad as amazing, Pashyati sees, Kashchit someone, Enam this soul, Asharyavad as amazing, Vadati speaks of, Tatha thus, Eva certainly, Cha also, Anya another, Asharyavad similarly amazing, Cha also, Enam this soul, Anya another, Shunoti hears of, Shutva having ear, Api even, Enam this soul, Veda knows, Na never, Cha and Eva certainly, Kashchit someone. Translation. Some look at the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So, the subject matter of soul is not so easy to understand. Some are amazed by looking at it, so when it is described, some are amazed, and some hear it as amazing. But most of them will not understand this concept of soul, and that's why we see in today's world most of the universities and colleges do not teach the subject matter of body and soul. And therefore, here Krishna is also declaring that it's not so easy, but if we can understand, it will be very nice. Purport. Since Gita Upanishad is largely based on the principles of Upanishads, it is not surprising to also find this passage in the Katha Upanishad 1.2.7. Shravanya bahudin yona labda shranvanto api bhavo yam navidyo आश्चर्य व्यक्ता कुशलो अस्य लब्धा आश्चर्य अस्य ज्ञाता कुशलानुतिष्ठ. The fact that the atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal and in the body of a gigantic banyan tree and also in the microbic germs, millions and billions of which occupy only an inch of space is certainly very amazing. So, this soul is there in everybody. It is there in the elephant body and also in the big banyan tree and also in the small germs microbic which you cannot see. So this occupies inch of space. So in 1 inch, there will be millions of billions. So people who say that human explosion is there is a lot of population all. We can see the germs are also spreading like millions and billions. So there is no dearth of food grains, there is no dearth of anything for anybody. If the land is cultivated properly and used, everybody can be nourished. Men with the poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the individual atomic spark of spirit. Even though it is explained by the greatest authority of knowledge, who imparted lessons even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe. So, if we want to know about the soul, we need to read, we need to understand, we should have some knowledge, basic knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. And a bit austerity is required because reading Vedic literature is not so easy. Most people don't read, and if they read, they will not understand. And if somebody doesn't understand, they will not go further. And therefore, it is very necessary that we should read it daily. It is an austerity for ourselves, which we should take. And Bhagavad Gita will also further explain this further that how reading Vedic literature every day is an austerity. And this knowledge was important even to Brahma, the first name in the universe. So it's very important to know that the Vedic knowledge is given by Krishna to Brahma, and from that is coming to dispensation to us. And therefore, this knowledge doesn't contain any defects which today's living entities has. They are not illusion, and they know the truth as it is. Owing to a gross material conception of things, most men this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both so great and so small. So we have this material conception of things, but the if we understand this spiritual conception, the size and the energy doesn't matter. So in material things, now if the size is big, we think that there is a lot of energy. But in the spiritual world, even if the size is very small, it has a huge amount of energy. There is no there is no collaboration, or we can say uh, that the soul, the size of the soul and energy of the soul, there is no relationship. Or we can say that even if the size of the soul is very less, very small, still the energy which it can produce is huge. So therefore, we should not misunderstand. And therefore, we see in temples, we see that deities are very small in size. But we should not misunderstand that if the small size of the deities are there, that means the energy is less or they cannot do big tasks. So Krishna, when he was small, he was a child. At that time also he could kill Putna. And when he was big, he could do the same thing. And therefore, in spiritual matters, this material conception does not work. And this we should understand very thoroughly. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful either by conscious or by description. So the way it is made, sometimes they think that's very wonderful, and sometimes by this how it is described also very wonderful. So people think like this way, and these spiritual things we will not be able to understand. We can just theoretically understand at this point of time. Till the time we are not spiritualized, we will not be able to understand thoroughly. But the process is daily chanting, hearing, reading, and doing all the spiritual activities, and gradually we'll understand that we are not this body but spirit soul. Illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in the subject matter of science religion that they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding. Even though it is a fact that without this self-understanding, all activities result in ultimate defeat in a struggle for existence. Perhaps they have no idea that one must think of the soul and thus make a solution to the material miseries. So, in today's time, now, if we see people are so much engrossed in sense gratification, how can I enjoy my senses to the fullest? How can I eat this? How can I see this? How can I go to different places? And this way, how can I smell this aroma? So this is the thing which people are thinking nowadays. In the previous ages, people were more accustomed to self-religion. They used to think that this material body which we have got is a vehicle for us to go back to God. And therefore, there was lot of learning and self-understanding. But nowadays, it's very less, and therefore, uh, most of people do not think of soul and do not make a solution to material miseries. So making solution to material means doesn't mean that we increase our standard of living and all. So people are trying to solve materialism, but in the wrong way, in a wrong place. So we are increasing our daily comforts, but it doesn't decrease material miseries. So it increases day by day. Like we have invented ACs and all, and we have invented so many things. But global warming is increasing, and it is creating different problem. And like this, we have so many comforts in our home. But if we see the body is becoming weak and weak, and so many people are now disease, they have so many diseases like cancer and diabetes and heart rate and all. So these diseases are increasing day by day. And therefore, there is no permanent solution to material disease. See, there may be some degree of relief, there may be some increase in lifespan or something, but it's very minimal, and that also is very limited. But there are no real solutions. So if we want real solutions, we have to go through Bhagavad Gita, we have to go through the scriptures and understand it thoroughly and aim for self-realization. And that is the only way to move ahead. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes, owing to ignorance, they are misguided by acceptance of super soul and the atomic soul as one without distinction of magnitude. So sometimes we hear so many times classes and all, and some we get good association also. But what happens is when we hear somebody speaking that we can become God or the soul and super soul are same, and like this, there are so many conceptions which are going on. So these are not the right conceptions. See, we are spiritual and super soul is spiritual. Both are spiritual. So Krishna is spiritual, we are spiritual. But both are not the same and both cannot merge. So till this point that both are spiritual and we should take Lord's name to get out of the material, we agree with the other philosophies. But when it comes of merging, then we don't agree because a soul can never become super soul. A soul can never become God. He'll always remain atomic, even though he's liberated. So what is the main difference is? The main difference is the soul will be out of Maya, but will never become the property of Maya, will never have controlship over Maya. Whereas Supreme Personality of Godhead is always out of Maya at the same time, he is the control of Maya. So the Maya Devi works under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This will never happen with Jiva, Jiva Atma, or a spirit soul, even if we are liberated and we become Nitya Siddha and so many things. So the material may not work on us, but at the same time, we do not become the boss of the material. That we should understand very thoroughly. Uh, because both are spirit, but both are made of different energies because Lord has so many energies. So the all the paraphernalia of Krishna and everything are made of Antaranga energy, whereas we as spirits are made of Tatastha energy. So this energy cannot, this energy is of Supreme Personality Godhead, but we are not so on that level, and therefore we should have this conception very clear that we will never become one. Even it is said that we become one in quality of the Supreme Personality, but not in quantity. So if we see the qualities also, now Krishna has 64 qualities, and that also in full. Whether we have 50 qualities and that also in part, we cannot have 50 qualities in full also. So qualitative wise also now, we cannot be one with Supreme Personality God. We can be similar but not one. So and quantitatively we can never be same. So therefore, this decision we should always understand that we will never be one with Supreme Personality of God. We will never be merging with Supreme Personality of God, but we will be serving Supreme Personality of God. And if the rasas which are exchanged between the Krishna and lineages cannot be done so if we merge, because see, if there is a relation of love, there should be some party like this husband and wife. There are two parties. If they both merge, then whom will they share the love with? And therefore, if we merge with Supreme Personality of Godhead, where will the exchange of rasas take place? And therefore, as Vaishnavas, we will never like to merge with Supreme Personality of Godhead. We will definitely want to be in the as servants in the spiritual world of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, we do not agree with this theory of becoming one. It is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of super soul, the atomic soul, their respective functions and relationships, and all other major matters. So it's very difficult, very, very difficult to find some person. It's like very rare. Bahunam Janmante, Gyanman Bante, Vasan Savati, some Mahatma Sudulab. So it's very dulab. It's very rare, very rare, very rare that somebody has proper conception of all the minor and major details. Very, very rare. Even our devotees also na, of different sampradayas and all, not many read all the books and not many have these things in detail. And therefore, we may find that most of the people, most of the devotees are stuck somewhere or other. And therefore, it's very important for us to read and understand our books. The books which we have in our lineage is extraordinary, and therefore we should take benefit of this. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from knowledge of the soul and is able to describe the position of soul in different aspects. But if somehow or other one is able to understand subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful. So one is knowing and second is taking benefit of all. So knowing is very difficult and when taking benefit is more difficult. But if somehow or other, if we can understand the subject matter of body and soul, then our life is successful. So even if one may not read the whole Bhagavad, one has just read this much verses when one comes to this chapter and this much verses. Still, if we can realize this one thing that we are not body, but we are soul, our life is way beyond and we will be successful. That is what Prabhupada tells us. The easiest process for understanding the subject matter of self, however, is to accept the statements of Bhagavad Gita spoken by the greatest authority, Lord Krishna, without being deviated by other theories. So if we want to understand the subject matter of soul, body, and Paramatma and all, then it is easy to understand if we accept the statements of Bhagavad Gita. So we can have doubts that how we are not this body but soul, but we cannot have doubts that why we are not body but soul. So we should have the faith on the authorities that whatever they're speaking is true. We should have faith on Lord Krishna that whatever is speaking true. But we may not know how it is true, and that is why we should read and find it out that why it is true. But it requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice either in this life or in the previous ones before one is able to accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of God. So we should know that without penance, without austerity, it's not so easy to understand. So it requires a different type of penance. It requires a bhakti perspective by which we can understand these things very thoroughly. And therefore, it requires months, years, and sometimes lifetimes to understand this. And we should be ready for it because it's the right understanding and we should go for it. Krishna can, however, be known as such by the causeless mercy of pure devotee and by no other way. So, if we even want to understand this, it's only by the mercy of pure devotees that we can understand these things. And to meet a pure devotee also is not so easy. It's very rare, very rare. And therefore, whenever we have a chance, we should go to devotees, hear it from devotees, and execute our life according to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we should make our life successful. So let's go to the last verse of this section. Dehi nityam avadyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natam sojitum arhasi. Dehi, the owner of material body, nityam eternally, avadya cannot be killed. I am this soul, dehi in the body, sarvasya of everyone, bharata who descend of Bharata, tasmat therefore, sarvani, all bhutani, living entities that are born, na neva tvam you soshtum you lament, arasi deserve. Translate. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. So here again, Krishna is concluding that he's saying that he who dwells in the body, its spirit soul, can never be slain. and therefore you should not grieve for any living being. So we should never grieve for any living being. At the same time, we should never do any violence unnecessary. Purport: the Lord now concludes the chapter on of instruction of the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather, and teacher Bhishma and Drona will die in the battle. So here, why does Krishna give this knowledge? So that Arjuna should not abandon his duty. And therefore, he should not fear that his grandfather and teacher Bhishma and Drona will die in the battle. So, out of fear, we should never leave our duty. In whatever circumstances we are, we should do our duty, and then this life will be successful. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from material body. That not that there is no such thing as soul, or that the living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of interaction chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the same time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. So, this is a summary of all things what we read, that we should believe in soul, which is different from material body. And second thing, it is not that this body comes at certain stage with combination of chemicals on, so it is not the right theory which we saw. And though the soul is immortal, then not unnecessary violence should be done. So if there is a need, it should be justified in the terms of sanction of Lord and not capriciously. So we cannot do on our own whims and everything. It should be justified according to the scriptures. Then only a violence can be done. Otherwise, peaceful way is the normal way of living. So let us see the next section from verse number 31 to 35. This answers our second question, which Arjuna told that there is no enjoyment even if victorious. So even if I am victorious, whom will I show my victory to? Because generally, if we have something, we need to show to others. That I have bought this home, I have bought this car, and here what I am going to get is the whole kingdom. So if I'm getting the whole kingdom, then I should be able to uh, tell some other people, but all the people whom I will tell will die. So what to do? So now Krishna will answer this question from verse number 31 35. Let's start with verse number 31. Swadharmam abhichaveksha navikampitam arhasi dharmyati yuddha shayo anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. In all means, Swadharma, one's own religious principles, api also, cha indeed, aveksha, considering, na never, vikampitam, to hesitate, arhasi, you deserve, dharmyat, for religious principles, he indeed, yuddhat, than, fighting, shreya, better engagement, anyat, any other, kshatriyasya, of the kshatriya, na, does not, vidyate exist. Answer. Concerning your specific duty as a kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on the religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. So here Krishna is telling to Arjuna that enjoyment comes if we perform our duty, not by abandoning our duty. And therefore, Krishna says that it is the specific duty of a Kshatriya, you should perform it, and there is no fear or hesitation. Purport. Out of the four orders of special administration, the second order for the matter of good administration is called Kshatriya. Kshat means heart. One who gives protection from harm is called Kshatriya. Prayate, to give protection. So we should understand these Kshatriyas are meant for the protection of citizens, not to exploit them. And whenever there is exploitation of citizens by Kshatriyas, then there is chaos and lot of bad things are happening. So this means that Kshatriya should also protect all living entities, including animals also. And that is their duty. They should not be killed unnecessarily. And sometimes Kshatriyas are allowed to fight with animals. So, but that is also not capriciously. So kings used to go and fight, which is that the Kshatriyas are trained for killing in the forest. So Kshatriya would go in the forest and challenge the tiger face to face and fight with the tiger with his sword. So Kshatriyas are allowed to fight with tigers so that they can practice their skills. But this is also not done capriciously. It is done with intent, and it doesn't happen that all the tigers are killed or something like what is happening nowadays. And they fight one on one. It is not that they shoot bullets or something and kill by by hiding behind a tree or something. No, they should to come forward and then challenge and do. At the same time, they should maintain forest and animals also, so there is not unnecessary decline of any animals. So, and when the tiger was killed, it was offered the royal order of cremation. So after killing the tiger, so it was not meant for eating and all, but it is given a royal cremation. This system has been followed even up to the present day by the Kshatriya kings of Jaipur state. The Kshatriyas are specially trained for challenging and killing because religious violence is sometimes a necessary factor. So this killing and all actually is not necessary, but sometimes it becomes necessary, and therefore they are being trained. Therefore, Kshatriyas are never meant for accepting directly the orders of sannyasa or renunciation. Non-violence in politics may be diplomacy, but it's never a factor of principle. In the religious books, it is stated. So, Kshatriyas therefore would never become sannyas because violence was in their blood. And this violence was used for protecting other citizens, but not for any wrong things or exploiting. So, and therefore, for sannyasa, you require a lot of forgiveness and tolerance, and therefore, they are not meant to take sannyas. Kshatriyas can maximum go to the Vanprastha stage. Brahmanas can go to the sannyas stage. Uh, and this also doesn't depend just on birth, it depends on the birth and the gunas what they have. So in this book stated, Ahaveshu mitho anyonyan jigham santo mahishita yuddhamana param shaktya swargam yanti aparamukha yagneshu pashavo brahman anyate satam sadam dvijay samskrita ila mantraischa te api swargam avapnuvan. So in the battlefield, a king or Kshatriya, while fighting another king and ways of him, is eligible for achieving heavenly planets after death, as the Brahmanas who also attend the heavenly planets after sacrificing animals in the sacred fire. So, when Kshatriyas fight on a battlefield on the ground of Dharma, then they can go to heavenly planets after that. So, generally, it takes years and years and so many lifetimes of following the Varnashram Dharma to go to heavenly planets. But when they fight on the basis of Dharma, they directly go to the heavenly planets after that. And Brahmanas also go to heavenly planets after sacrificing animals. But we should consider that there are some conditions which Prabhupada speaks. Uh, what should be done? So therefore, killing on the battlefield on religious principle and killing animals on the sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. So when the animal is killed, he should be benefited. That should be the criteria set. And therefore, you see, when the killing is on battlefield or animals are killed, sacrificed, so it is not an violence. Why not violence? Because the animal sacrifice gets a human life immediately without undergoing a gradual evolutionary process is from one form to another. So when the animal is killed on a sacrifice altar and being offered, then what happens is he gets a human birth immediately. Otherwise, it will take some time from one species to another. So this is the how that Jivatma or the living entity is benefited. And the Kshatriyas killed on the battlefield also attend the heavenly planets, and so Brahmanas who attend them by offering sacrifice. So we should here consider that was one of the case, and there are so many rituals before and after, and so many mantras and so many things are done. It is not just killing of animals in some slaughterhouses where thousands and lakhs of animals are killed within some minutes or something. So this is not like a way in which organized slaughterhouses were there. This is only one of the animals. Sometimes the sacrifices are done, and the way in which the animal is being treated, the way the animal is being selected, and after the animal is dead, how it is offered cremation, and the destination which it gets after is all not comparable with today's slaughterhouses. And therefore, when somebody argues that in the previous yugas, even the brahmanas used to sacrifice the animals. So it is not the same as sacrificing animal nowadays. See, we have seen a cat. A cat carries kitten in his mouth and the mouse also in his mouth. But when a cat carries mouse, it is death for him. Where a cat carries kitten, it is like a mother is carrying me. So there is no problem. So like this, if we see here also now, when the brahmanas kill the animal, sacrifice, the animal gets a new human form of life in which he can perfect his life. But where somebody is killed in slaughterhouse, then he or she, whatever lifetime was remaining in that body would not be completed. And therefore, he has to suffer. And the same way, the person who kills that animal also has to suffer. So both are in loss, and therefore we should never compare both these things and never argue that the Brahmanas used to also do, and we will also kill the animals. So there are two kinds of swadharma, specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of a particular body in accordance with the religious principle in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's swadharma, spiritual duty becomes spiritual and it is not in the material bodily concept. So we have so two dharmas, one is of the body and one is of spirit soul. So like till the time one is not liberated, one has to do what is duty of the body, like somebody is Brahmana, or some intellectual class, somebody is Kshatriya or administrator, somebody is a Vaishya or or capitalist, and somebody who is a Shuddha or a labor or somebody. So these are not derogatory words, but just the way it is divided, and every society has these four kinds of people. We have seen there are scientists who are intellectual kind of people, and we have also seen that there are some administrators who rule the country, some government and all. We see there are some ministers and all, and therefore there are some capitalists, like we have so many factories and all we do, and every factory, every minister and every Brahman, all they require some help, some labor or all, and therefore we are also labor class of people. So these all are there everywhere, and it doesn't mean that these terms are derived, but it is used for a specific purpose. And this is called the duty of the body, which one has to perform. And another is swadharma. Another dharma is specific duty of the soul and not of the body. So we need to do both these dharmas. And after one is liberated, one does only swadharma. It's the duty of the spirit soul. So when one is liberated, one's swadharma spirituality becomes spiritual and it is not material bodily concept. So when it becomes spiritual. In the bodily constitution of life, there are specific duties for Brahman and Kshatriya respectively, and such duties are unavoidable. So suppose one hears that we are not his body but soul, that doesn't mean that we can directly start the working of soul, because we are not the body, but we are in the body. So body is a vehicle and it should be used for specific purposes, which is meant to be. Uh, Swadharma is ordained by the Lord, and this will be clarified in the fourth chapter. On the bodily plane, Swadharma is called Varnashrama, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. So, best is Swadharma is Varnashrama Dharma, and Varnashrama is understood by not by birth alone, but birth and guna. So, according to what one has possessed, one should do his duty daily, and this will help further for spiritual understanding. So human's relation begins from the stage of Varnashrama Dharma or specific duties in terms of specific modes of nature of the body obtained. Discharging one specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the orders of higher authorities serves to elevate one to a higher status of life. So when we do our specific duty in whatever field we are, then what happens is it helps us to go further and elevate our life and go towards a spiritual direction. So this is what is the understanding of this verse. So let us read verse number 32. Yadrichaya chopapannam swargadwaram apavritam Sukhina Kshatriya Partha Labante Yuddha Iddhisham. So Yudhricha Chopapanam. So by his own accord, also arrived at Swarga of the heavenly planets, Dwaram door, Apavritam wide open, Sukhina very happy, Kshatriya, the member of the royal order, Partha, O son of Partha, Pritha, O son of Pritha, Labante to achieve Yuddham war edition like this. Translation. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come onslaught, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. So here Arjuna is saying that I'm not happy, I'll not enjoy, and Krishna is saying that we should be happy because such fighting opportunities doesn't come so easily, and it happens that this the fighting will open the door for the heavenly planets. Purport: as supreme teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemns the attitude of Arjuna and said, "I do not find any good in fighting. In this fighting, it will cause perpetual habituation in who." Such statement by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. So there's this attitude of Krishna of not fighting, doing his work is not liked by Krishna, and therefore we should do uh, the work which is allotted to us according to our good and karma and be happy. It will cause perpetual habitation in hell. Such statements by Arjuna are due to ignorance only. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of a specific duty. So fighting doesn't cause anyone to go to hell if it is done in a proper conscience according to the dharma. And therefore, here Krishna specifies that if one becomes non-violent in this specificity, then it's a problem. For a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is the philosophy of fools. In the Parashara Smriti religious quotes by Parashara, the great sage and father of Vyasadeva, it is stated, Kshatriya hi praja raksham shastrapana pradanyadaya nijitya para sain yadi shitim dharmena palay. So the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties. And for that reason, he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Kshatriya is Prajapalan. Prajapalan is the thing for Kshatriyas. So Kshatriya's main duty is to protect citizens. And therefore, he needs to do some violence. Like government, if we see the administrative thing, he also has jail. It doesn't that the government wants everybody to go in jail. But if there is no jail and the bad people doesn't go to jail, then the good people cannot stay peacefully. And therefore it is needed. And therefore, we see here that these Kshatriyas need to conquer the kings. And therefore he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings. And thus, with religious principles, he should rule over the world. So whatever he does, he should do with the religious principle in mind. He should not do anything adharmic. Considering all the aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom. And if he would die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets, whose doors are wide open to him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case. So Arjuna is saying that there is no benefit in fighting and will kill unnecessary and there are so many problems. Whereas Krishna is saying that fighting is the most beneficial for you. If you die in the battle, you go to heavenly planets. And if you win, then you got this kingdom. So what is your loss? Both ways you are gaining. Verse number 33. Adachettvamimam dharmyam sangravam na karishyasi tatha swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsasi. Atha, therefore, chet if from you imam this dharmyam as a religious duty, sangramam fighting, na do not karishyasi perform, tatha then swadharmam your religious duty, kirtim reputation cha also hitva, losing papam sinful relation opsi will gain. If however you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. So, Arjuna is saying that will incur significant for enemies, whereas Krishna is saying here If you don't fight, then you will incur sin because you have neglected your duty and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. So therefore, you should fight. So purport. Purport. Arjuna was a famous fighter and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called Pashupata Astra. Everyone knew that he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could kill even his creature. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adopted father Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name, and thus prepare his loyal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from battle. So we know all how Arjuna fought with Shiva. He went to Indra. So Indra gave weapons, and so many different demigods gave different weapons. Or we can say that so many devatas gave so many weapons. And in this way, Arjuna had worked very hard to get all these weapons. At the same time, we know Arjuna was ambidextrous. Ambidextrous means he could fight with both the hands and with both the same speed, with same energy. So he used to work day and night. He used to practice day and night, and therefore he was very skilled. So in life, the problem doesn't come of skills, the problem comes of will. So if somebody is willing, skills can be developed. But if somebody has skills but he doesn't will to do the things, then it's very difficult. And here, uh, Krishna is doing a fabulous job. He's doing a great task of converting the willpower of Arjuna from not fighting to fighting. And therefore, he's saying that if you don't fight, then you will lose your fame and name, and thus you will go to hell. And therefore, you will go to hell not by fighting, but for withdrawing. So do not withdraw, just fight. And then further, he says, what will happen if you don't fight? People will give you bad names, and this you will not like. So let's see verse number 34. Akirtim chapi bhutani katayishyanti te avyayam sambhavitasya chakete maranat ati richyate. Akirtim, infamy, cha also api, or and above. Bhutani, all people, Kathayishyanti will speak they of you, Avyayam, therefore forever, Sambhavitasya for respectable man, Cha also Akirti, ill fame, Maranat, then death, Ati Richyate becomes more. Translation. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So in this world, uh, we may do two things wrong and right, some good deeds and some bad deeds, but people will remember bad deeds and most of the times, and therefore uh, they will scorn, they will speak of infamy. And for respectable person, what happens if somebody is on a respectable position, dishonor is worse than that. People will like to die but not be dishonored, and therefore here Krishna is saying that uh, for you to live will be very difficult if you withdraw. Purport. Both as friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you should do it better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than that. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship, and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. So Krishna is telling us that better you fight than withdraw from the battlefield, because if you flee, then your name will be ruined. At the same time, my friendship will be misused. So therefore, please go and fight. And last verse in this section, let us see verse number 35. भयाद्रनात् उपरतं मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथा येषां च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्. Now means Bhayat out of fear, Ranath from the battlefield, Uparatam sees, Mamsyante, they will consider, Tvam, you, Maharatha, the great generals, Yesham, for whom, Cha also Tvam, you, Bahumata, in the great estimation of Bhutva, having been, Yasyasi, you will go, Lagom, decreasing. That's it. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. So, you have gained so much name, so much fame by showing your act and valor. And when you leave the battlefield, they will not think that you have left out of compassion or something, but they will think that you are left out of fear, and therefore they will consider you insignificant. And this is not good. Purport: Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think the great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. So, generally, this all Kshatriyas were there, and their thinking was that out of fear Arjuna is living, not that out of compassion. And therefore, please do not leave the battle and fight. Otherwise, your name, your high estimation will go to hell. So, in the previous yugas, the words, the personalities, they're respectable. This was most beneficial, and this was more important than money. Nowadays, it is not so. And if money is gone, everything is gone. If health is gone, something is gone. And if reputation and name is gone, nothing is gone. This is what is there. But in the previous yugas, if you see, again, Krishna is saying that reputation is more important. Your words which you are given is more important. Therefore, if your name and fame is gone, everything is gone, health is gone, something gone. If money is gone, nothing is lost. So this was what Krishna is saying, and this is what Arjuna is saying. So thank you very much. We'll pause here. If anybody any questions or questions we'll take. Otherwise, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Very much.